On to the next one. So the next one is the Keeley Abbey Chamber Verb. Set everything to noon here, just because that's where people seem to like knobs to start for whatever reason. Let's start with the top filter. And so yeah, that's the first sound. Okay, and I'm going to switch filter settings first. See if you can hear a difference. So the way this is set up, these filters relate to this brilliance. So right now this should essentially be flat. So technically it's a boost or cut thing. So technically, just by the controls, it would seem like that would be indistinguishable. I'm hearing a really slight difference, but that could be my brain. So let's just, for the sake of exploring these filters, go with... So what this is doing is taking this frequency, 2.7K, and cutting it by 10. I don't know if that's 10 dB. I would assume. I don't know. So, and then 3.5K and 10K, based off of the chamber reverbs, the actual chamber reverbs at Abbey Road Studios, which I guess I should have said immediately, but maybe I say it in the intro video. I don't know. Excuse me. Alright, so here we are back exploring the filters. -10, starting at 2.7. I'm also going to change, let me kill all the pre-delay. So I took out the pre-delay because I think with reverb everything's kind of more easily heard with no pre-delay. Left these two where they are. So now we're currently in the 2.7K in cutting all of the 2.7K that this pedal can cut. Which is, you know, -10 of whatever unit 10 represents on this pedal. Hopefully dB, I guess. Now let's just boost it plus 10 undefined units of measurement. If you can't hear the difference there, stop playing music. Now let's go to 3.5. 10K. That 2.7 is taking my head off in the room. So let's go back to what this sounds like. Cut. So, you know, I mean, if you know how EQing works, again, taking 2.7K, which, as I was noticing, it sounded to me, with this guitar through this amp, to be a kind of offensive frequency, right? So then, okay, so the battery on my B camera died, so I'm just gonna finish this segment with the Abbey Chamber Verb with one camera. Okay, so I believe I was discussing the last bit of the filter stuff. So yeah, cut, boost, it's EQ. Hopefully you have some good handle on how EQ works in general, because, well, maybe I shouldn't say in general. So essentially, you know, this is based off of the reverb chambers of a studio, the studio, if you will. So this is more akin to studio techniques of EQing relative to the reverb. So your tails, you know, were... I'm really over-explaining this, aren't I? I think you get it. Let's move on. I'm going to leave it at, you know, sort of neutral setting and move on from the EQ, and let's just get a sense of the ranges of the other knobs. Let's leave the pre-delay off. So this is dry, wet, no reverb, all the reverb. Like, this is even more so than the Holy Grail. Oops, I'm comparing already, sorry. This is, gives you a sense of a delay, not the same as a pre-delay does, between your playing and the sound. So I guess you could say this is kind of even more wet at its wettest setting. Yeah, that feels weird and I don't like playing that way, so I'm not going to do it. And I would also say, in addition to just, you know, being more wet at its extreme setting, it's also probably just how it's emulating a chamber reverb versus, you know, a spring, hall, or plate reverb. You know, I mean, this feels like sound is bouncing off of walls more, you know? So, I guess full wet would be if you were somehow in a space where you didn't hear the sound source and only heard it reflecting off the walls. You know, could be cool. That feels weird to play through for me, so I'm gonna put that back to the middle, take the decay all the way. Anyway, this is more useful than I'm probably making it sound. Anyway, back to full decay. That I like. Let's add a little more, and just for giggles, darken it up, kind of arbitrarily. That's a little too much. So, you know, I was just muttering that felt like too much and changed the setting. Well, that segues nicely into that's why pre-delay exists. Essentially, if you feel like you're getting too washed out, you know, gosh, I'm suddenly blanking on a good way to succinctly describe what pre-delay is, if anybody out there doesn't know, because I feel like it's kind of a confusing term. It's not a confusing concept, it's just a confusing term, I think. The more you increase this, the more you are delaying the onset of reverb. The more time it takes for the reverb to take over your signal. So here's no pre-delay, meaning the reverb just kicks in right away. Here's all the pre-delay. I don't know how many milliseconds this is. Does it say on there? Here's my head in the shot. I don't know. I could probably look it up in the manual and put an annotation if I do so. But yeah, you can definitely, I mean, I would get, because I see the number 50 here, maybe that's 50 milliseconds. That would seem reasonable. So basically, you know, it's kind of an additional way to perceive the mix of a reverb. So now I've got this all the way wet. So max mix, but also max pre-delay, so there should, in theory, be some guitar signal coming through. Yeah, it's really low, but that's me doing manual volume swells, and this essentially doing volume swells on the volume swells. So this is me discovering that for the first time. I've never tried that before. So that's kind of cool. But let's go to a little more conservative setting here. Let's just boost some 10K just for giggles, because why not? Let's see how this one goes with delay, because I really like that setting, so I'm just gonna leave it. This, I gotta crank the mix even more. That's interesting. Okay. I have no idea what I'm playing, but you know, the sonics of it are good, if not the musicality. Heck with it. So here's something that I've noticed with this before. I'm pretty sure the interaction of fuzz pedals in particular, a lot of the weirdness and pickiness of these things gets exacerbated by the filters. At least that's my perception. So that's, you know, I was just about to say something, or I was definitely thinking about how like I should maybe use this more because of the cool sounds I was just getting out of it. That's kind of only clean. Let me experiment to see if I can get this to cooperate at all. Well, that's better already. Just cutting, just, you know, cutting, oh, what am I cutting there? 3.5, and then boosting 10K for me is the only kind of useful one to boost. I generally just like darker reverbs though, so that may well just be personal taste. Yeah. This one's going to be super long, and I apologize for that, so I'm just going to end it now. But let's go to this guy next. Bye-bye.